And I heard through the grapevine that you may have met someone whilst working at Harrods. Is this true?
This is true. I did meet someone who later became my husband.
No way. No way.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Probably not the best way to go about
And was it Mohammed Al Fayed?
It wasn't Al Fayed, but it was someone who reported into him though. So I did go quite fairly senior.
And were you still working on the shop floor? Is this when you'd moved into HR?
This is when I'd moved into HR, but I did a temporary stint in HR, and then I managed to land a permanent role in the home division.
Right.
So I went.
So in the buying team, was that?
I worked alongside the buying team and the retail management team.
Right.
So so I was a divisional coordinator. That's what it was called.
Wow. And how old are you then?
So I would have been 21.
Wow. Young.
21 fresh.
Look at
Wow.
me.
And obviously you worked in HR. So were there rules? Was there guidance on having relationships with another member of staff?
There definitely were. I can't remember if there was a policy, but there definitely was guidance. And I think you
ignored it.
Yeah, essentially.
You were like, I've seen that.
A lot of people did. I mean, like I said, there were lots of married couples, lots of boyfriends and girlfriends, lots of hookups always happening. How can you stop it? Like, we're in a building with like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Stuff's going to happen. But I think that the official line was that if you were in a relationship with someone from within the business, you did have to declare it to HR, and then they would decide whether it was a good fit for you to stay
like
working
being
in your
at uni,
department.
they had guidance on, professors dating students. Wild.
Who's doing that these days? It's like I imagine at Cambridge, some crony old man.
Ross from Friends, he went out with one of his students, remember, in one episode.
Oh, true.
Well, that was the 90s.
Yeah.
Thing was
Now it'd be like, no.
So one of our listeners who works in a department store in Manchester reached out with this hilarious story, but he tells it far better than me. I don't know, I can't remember which department store, luxury department store. They have a well-being room. And one of his colleagues went to the well-being room for a nap before they started their shift. And then a girl from beauty came in. The person was asleep or half asleep. A girl from beauty came in. And then a security guard from the department store came in. And they started shagging in the staff well-being room.
Well,
and the other member of staff just played sleep, just pretended to be asleep until it was over. Isn't that hilarious?
Wow, it's all well-being for all of them.
and then scurried off to report it to their manager. I wouldn't have done that.
No,
I would never have done that.
But yeah, it all goes on.
I mean, I remember in one of my roles, one of my colleagues hooking up, he like literally just went on Grindr and
What's that? What's Grindr?
Was that Tim?
and went and met someone in the canteen because it was literally 100 feet away.
Wow,
behind the food bits. Oh my goodness.
There's many a restroom at Harrods, I'm sure. So you met somebody?
Yes, I did. A fateful Christmas party.
Wow.
Oh, was it?
Talk to us. Where was the Christmas party?
The Christmas party, it was actually the... So lots of departments would have their own Christmas party arranged and go to a pub or restaurant or whatever, but there was a company-wide one. But there obviously you couldn't get everyone there, so you have to buy a ticket. And it was like £50 a ticket.
At Harvey Nicks too.
So it was at the Grosvenor House Hotel.
Okay, nice. Park Lane.
Yeah. And it was my first, I'm fresh out of university. I was drinking like snake bites not that long ago. And now I'm in, this luxury hotel and being wined and dined.
And that creates loyalty amongst the staff, that they're treated to something that's quite special.
Yeah.
I think those days have gone too.
I mean, I don't remember the last time I wore anything black tie.
Yeah.
So.
I want to wear that, yeah.
So you were at this Christmas party and did anybody catch your eye?
Did you lock eyes or was he reporting something to HR originally?
No, it wasn't. It was, I think my eyes were but could barely open, to be honest. But I definitely... It was more, I was pursued, let's say. I was definitely pursued.
That's quite nice to be pursued.
It was, but it was equally frightening because then, the next day I am having deep fear. That
Anxiety.
The worst.
The worst.
And also, everyone in HR.
Yeah, and everyone, and he was fairly senior. And I'm like, well, this is it.
Lord.
I've lost my job. I'm gonna have to go. That was it.
And you're 21.
I was 21.
Oh, that is terrifying.
Scary.
Literally months after graduating. And
so was there an element of regret after that night?
yes, definitely. But that was how I felt like most of my nights ended.
Yeah, I think everyone's night out end in regret at 21, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Was there an age gap?
Yes.
Oh,
A significant age gap.
Oh, significant.
That's even worse when you work in retail, because I feel like that's where people, you know, they love any detail like that. That's
Because, you know, it's
interesting.
gossip. People are going to talk, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's a power now, when we talk about in 2023, there's a power imbalance there. You know,
Totally.
a senior director and a
a jun-
21-year-old junior that's working in, at this point, are you in the home?
I'm in the home division, yeah. So yeah.
And do you tell anyone about this, or is it like you keep it to yourself?
I did have like my little bestie at work who I obviously had to like divulge everything to.
Yeah.
But I think also, even if they're a bestie, I think in department stores, often people are so gossipy that you could tell someone in confidence, and before you know it, the entire floor know.
I imagine it was probably the worst kept secret. But like I said, I imagined it was going to get shot down really quickly and I was going to get the boot, but he continued to pursue me.
Oh, this continued out after Grosvenor.
This did continue for a while afterwards, and
On the DL, on the down low.
on the DL. So nothing ever in the store. We'd always meet
Clandestine.
Kensington or things like that.
Right.
It was
Exciting.
quite exciting at the time.
So what was the age gap, if you don't mind me asking?
21 years?
Oh yeah.
Silver fox.
Even better. I bet it was so exciting because you're like,
Well, you know, again, I'd had boyfriends and things, but I've never been out with anyone that much older than me. And it was a totally different world. He was super charming. He took me to like fancy bars and restaurants. I was like, this is wild.
Designer gifts?
A few here and there, you know.
But at 21, to be kind of introduced to that world of whining and dining, and must have been really exhilarating.
It was. Yeah, it was. I think that's why I went along with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
graduated from trips to the cinema to going to these nice restaurants.
totally. I mean, I remember he was like the first person I'd been with that ordered a glass of wine from the bar rather than like a pint.
Yeah.
A double vodka.
Yeah, quad vod.
Yeah.
So it kind of I ran away with it, but
And how long did that continue for?
well, I ended up marrying him.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, she said this. You missed this.
I did. I didn't. Yeah.
How did I miss that? You married him.
It escalated, Tim, is all I can say. It definitely escalated.
At what age did you marry him?
I didn't think it computed. So you married at 20?
No, I didn't marry him at that age. So we were having this clandestine affair at work for a couple of years.
Nobody knows, or if they do know, they're not talking about it.
Yeah, it's very under the radar. But then it emerged that this was not his first rodeo in having relations with junior staff members.
And did he had a partner at the time when he met?
Yeah, he did have a partner at the time as well. So it was very messy.
Lord above.
It was very messy. So then I was growing up a little bit.
I mean, look, I feel sorry for that. That must have been really stressful.
Looking back, I feel a bit sorry for myself, and I feel a bit silly that I was being naive.
Oh, no way. Your man who orders a glass of wine, I'll be like, yeah, what's going on here?
And at that age, love is so intense, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
I was really, you know, not infatuated, but I really kind of...
You were caught up in it.
I was caught up in it, and I believed everything I was being told and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
So how long did you date until he popped the old question, and which floor did he pop it on?
We dated.
Hopefully the jewelry floor.
We dated for a couple of years, but then, you know, it just became like it wasn't really going anywhere. He was still with someone else, and
Oh yeah, that
was a problem. So I actually ended things and said, you know, actually I just want to go and be a normal 23, 24-year-old and date people my own age and things like that. So we ended things for about a year, and I carried on working. We didn't work closely together at this point. I'd moved to a different role, but still in the business.
Would you see them?
I would see him. I would see him around, and it would be quite uncomfortable. But then I think situations in his own life changed, and he sort of reached back out, and I was in a vulnerable
At this
place.
point, single?
I was single as well.
And he was single. Okay.
So we kind of rekindled things. And then at this point, I said, well, if we're gonna do this, like, let's do it for real.
So you're gonna out the relationship.
We were going to out it, but then I referred back to this HR policy, and I'm thinking, I don't really want to have to go into HR and
And
spill.
and how much do you tell? Do you tell
Yeah.
them about the historic
Exactly.
Or just now.
just
let me
met.
just
And actually, I think, on paper, it should never have worked. He was much more senior than me. And if anyone was going to go, it was going to be me.
Of course.
So
yeah.
I took that opportunity and I left the business so we could kind of continue things
Oh, that's true love, that
on
I
a
feel.
legitimate basis.
Yeah. So you stepped back from
So
Harrods.
I stepped back, even though I loved it there, and moved completely into a different industry.
So at this point, everyone in the kind of senior level knows about the relationship, your colleagues.
I think so, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no one was really surprised when it did eventually come out. So I think
Was Mohammed Al Fayed the best man at the wedding?
he was not there, unfortunately.
He gifts.
In this time, we transitioned. So Mohammed had actually sold the store to the Qatari Investment Authority.
Yeah.
So there was some transition there happening anyway. So I think he proposed
This
a couple
is
of years
nuts.
later when I was about 25.
This is actually wild.
25,
25.
26.
That's, oh my God,
Which is
that's
still
nearly
quite
me.
young.
And where are you working at this point?
So I'd moved. I'd moved into the finance industry. So a total shift from retail and the magic of Harrods into finance.
The magic of money.
And
Yeah.
we talk constantly on the podcast about how difficult it is. Like, you are a rare example of someone that can move from being a sales advisor on the shop floor to head office, now into finance. What's the secret, Rhiannon?
Yeah.
We're all ears.
Oh, I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just blagged it a lot of the time.
It's shagging the directors.
Never done it since. Just want to
Just
throw
to
that in
clarify.
there.
That's how you didn't get the next job.
If anyone's interested, I'm ready to go.
I don't know. I remember. I think you've just got to really put yourself out there and just go for it, and hopefully something will stick eventually.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a geek, so I like learning about. I do it. I've done like lots of additional courses
Love a
and
geek.
investment management certificates and things
Wow.
like that subsequently. So I just want to prove that I'm interested.
And did your husband continue working in retail?
He did.
Okay,
did.
had moved on from Harrods.
So he eventually moved on from Harrods, and then actually an opportunity came up abroad for him to work for another big department store in the Middle East. So we both took the plunge and moved to the Middle East.
I can't. This story just keeps
I
growing
know.
legs. You moved to the Middle East. Where?
Qatar.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
way. That's a really rogue place
And was
as
he
well.
working for one of those huge businesses that owns all of the license deals for the luxury brands?
So one of the big family companies.
So Janet Jackson's ex-husband
Yeah.
was his family owned one of those companies.
That's right, yeah.
in the Middle East.
Janet was my neighbour at one point.
Really?
No, Tim.
Not next door, but
Tim, you're going to die.
I'm her super fan.
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had our babies around the same time.
What? Stop. Oh my God.
But she
I
didn't
want
join the
your
mums
life.
group.
No. Funny that.
So, and what brands were they? So, did you move back into retail when you went out there?
No, I stayed out of retail, and I was I had the corporate Monday to Friday 9 to 5 bug by this point.
And you were earning, were you coining it in? Were you earning, is there no tax?
No
on top?
tax, but no pension contributions. So that's something to
Talk to
factor
us
in.
about pension.
Oh, no.
So,
Dirty word in here. Rhiannon.
so yeah, it was good money, but it was expensive to live out there, and it was a risk. I actually left my job in the city.
And your family. And
Yeah,
your friends.
and everyone,
Yeah.
and to go and support, my. Or we had to get married actually. Yeah, we had to rush a wedding through because
in London.
we did a quick registry office wedding in Brighton actually.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
And did family come, or was it literally like
I
shotgun?
kept it super quiet. And funnily enough, how the world works, but my very good friend who I made at Thornton's, she was also offered a job in Qatar around the same time.
No.
This is what retail's like. You do keep in touch with people, don't you?
So she was offered this role, and she had a long-term boyfriend at the time, and so they were going to move to Qatar as well. So I was like, this is fantastic. I've never been to this country before, but at least I'm going to have some friends there. But they needed to get married too, so we had a double wedding.
So is this because you a double wedding?
Yeah,
You both went to Brighton.
Yeah.
My mind is blown by this whole conversation. You had a double wedding in Brighton.
Yeah, so we were each other's witnesses. We didn't tell anyone else.
From Thornton's, full circle.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
so it was brilliant.
So you had to be married in Qatar? You couldn't have a boyfriend?
I think you
as-
can't live together.
You can't
unless-
legally live
Okay.
together, and also because I was going to be I didn't have a job to go to out there initially, so I was going to be going as under a spousal visa.
Right.
So it was important that we were married for that reason. And then I was able to find work once I'd got my residency and things sorted
This is
out there.
bonkers.
Yeah.
And how long were you together?
So we were together. So obviously we met at when I was 21, married, moved abroad, and then sadly separated when I was 31.
Oh, a long
So
time
it was
relationship.
like a good old. We obviously had that like break in between for a year or so.
I met my first partner working in retail and we were together for 10 years. I was young. I
Yeah.
was 18. Did you, looking back, do you have any kind of regrets about missing those kind of moments in life of being young and kind of carefree and
I do. I think I was definitely too young, and also I hadn't really like fully experienced university single either because I had
was
like
the
a
same.
high school
I
boyfriend
was
all
the
the way
same.
through.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think I gave myself a chance to really do my own growing, and it was honestly it was when I turned 30 that the trajectory I could see the trajectory of my life, and I was thinking,
At this point, he's 50.
yeah,
No?
yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a bit less sexy, not to be ageist, but like you're in the prime of your life and
Yeah.
you're dating a 50-year-old.
So
Let's call a
But
spade
living
a
in
spade.
Qatar with your friends from Thornton's.
That's quite
That's
fun.
so much fun.
well, yeah,
Adventure.
do you know she actually turned the job down in the end.
Oh, bitch.
Devastated.
Oh my God, not friends anymore.
Devastated.
After the
After what we've been
double
through in
wedding.
After the wedding and everything, I know.
This is a wild
She did come and
rollercoaster.
visit. She came and visit.
Good.
Visited
Did
lots.
she
That
feel
was nice.
terrible?
No, she did not feel terrible. So, but yeah, it was an interesting period of time. But yeah, I do look back and think, I wish I just not kind of allowed myself to get drawn in to the charm of an older man and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And did you have any children?
we did. We had one child. Who's
Okay. Wow.
a little boy. And
And did you become pregnant when you were in Qatar? Or,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, so I had him out there. Like I said,
No
Janet
way.
and I were we weren't mum buddies. I never met her.
Yeah.
I just happened to know that she lived
So
near
the
me.
whole kind of pregnancy happened in Qatar and
Yeah,
okay.
everything. So he hasn't got a Qatari birth certificate or passport. They don't give those out very easily.
Okay.
But yeah, he's got that on his place of birth is Doha.
Oh my gosh. I did a layover there once.
It's fantastic. It's the new airport.
Oh, the airport's amazing.
It's incredible.
I had one of those huge teddy bear. What are those?
Yeah,
little,
the bit by the-
cores. Is it cores?
I can't remember. I don't know what it's called, but it's
Kind
like
of looks like Elmo, but it's not Elmo.
it looks a
like
bit
an
like
art
the
thing.
it is an art installation. It looks a bit like Pugsy the children need bear.
It does. It does. It's really cool though. I ran
I've got
through that
no
airport.
clue what you guys are talking about.
The Doha airport. Not very well travelled, are you?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of Qatar, Dubai have never really appealed to me. I know people love them, but I don't like shopping. I don't like extreme heat, and I hate shopping malls. So,
That's not the place for you because
Yeah.
there's pretty much nothing else to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to have fun.
I'm sure it's there are more things now.
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to see the deserts though.
Yeah, I'd love to see the culture,
Yeah.
the history.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
was. I actually really enjoyed my time out there, but towards the end, I just didn't like my husband. So that's
Well, that'll do it.
yeah,
So did the marriage collapse whilst you were there?
it did, which was tricky. Which was
And
very
what about
tricky.
the laws in Qatar around separation?
Very different. So the advice I was given was to kind of leave the country, pretty much, to be more protected as a woman with a young child. And I actually wasn't working at the time either.
And at this point, because the marriage is disintegrating, surely you just wanted to be around your family and your friends.
I did. However, like I found that actually the friends I'd made in Qatar became my family. I don't know if it's the same for a lot of expats, but because you don't have your family around, you put so much more invest so much more into your friendships.
Yeah.
You foster relationships, friendships much quicker.
Yeah. And
that commonality, that common experience.
Definitely.
Of
And
being
especially
expats.
after having a baby, and I made so many mums, like mum friends out there, but they were more than just my mum friends. They're like my core best friends even now to this day. And I was really reluctant to leave them. So I actually did say to my husband, like, could we just separate? Could we just live separately? Stay married, obviously, because of the legalities of it. But just live separately. And he just said no. So cancelled the visas and sent us packing, basically.
Oh my gosh.
All this from starting a part-time job in Harrods.
Who knew?
After graduating.
Yeah.
God, there's a long road ahead of you, Tim.
I'm speechless. This is nuts. So now you're happily divorced.
Very happily divorced. Yeah,
You have your son,
I do.
who is how old?
7 now.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 going on about 25.
What an amazing gift to have come out of that wild experience.
Yeah. I think all of it. I mean, I, as much as I probably would have changed some things, actually, the path it took me on and who I am now is probably down to a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
So when you step into Harrods today in 2023, are you triggered at any point? Or?
No, it's a mixture. Sometimes I am, and I also think that things would have been very different had I been 21 now.
Yeah.
Some of those things would never have flown. Like,
It just wouldn't happen today.
no, post Me Too movement in 2023.
I think even if a director had wanted to, I think that for people, there'd be that nagging feeling that this is not going to wash. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So I just think, and also I think I would have probably felt more empowered as a woman, like a young woman now, to definitely push back. Whereas there definitely was like a culture at the time of, men sort of ruled. I don't know how to put it.
It's really important that you're sharing this experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's so many people
Who had this, who
had a
felt...
similar experience and, probably even still haven't been able to kind of verbalize what they went through.
Well, even like the sexualization of women, just even through the uniform.
Totally.
Like you said, heels, lipstick. If that's not who you are at a core level, and you don't want to be sexualized, that to
It's
earn
like
money, you
cabin
have to.
crew, isn't it?
Yeah.
And only recently, I think, did Virgin Airlines decide to
Do trousers.
Yeah, women can wear trousers and they don't have to wear makeup and they no longer have to wear heels. But their kind of USP was this very kind of
Glamorous.
sexualized, glamorous woman.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, it's about time that we've kind of moved beyond that.
Definitely. And like I said, because, you adapt to your surroundings and you be who the other people you're around are. So I think had the times been different, a lot of things would have been different in my life. And I think turning 30 and becoming a bit more self-assured and self-aware and just gave me a bit more confidence to kind of not be led any further down a...
And I think my final thing I'd like to ask before I jump in, Tim, is what would your advice be to someone in retail now? Like, what would you say, like, if you could go back and you were young and you think even about like you going to head office or trying to get another job, what do you think are the positives of retail that you can like use in your CV or use in as a person?
I think, like I said at the beginning, I've made so many amazing relationships and maintained those relationships having started in retail. And I think you do have to be a special sort of person it's hard work.
Very special.
Yeah.
It is really hard work. It's physically exhausting.
Yeah.
But also you're having to, provide a service with a smile constantly. It does teach you a lot about people and working with different people, how to adapt to different types of customers, like luxury
Different
retail.
situations.
You're encountering so many walks of life. So I think you can take away that your takeaway from retail is that you have to be incredible with people. And I think it's such a good, amazing transferable skill, no matter what industry you're in. But what I would say has helped me is on the side, I know when do you have the time, but your own self-development is really important. So whatever the company you're working for, whatever benefits they have that can offer you in terms of further training or, funding for any other examinations or things like that, take it. Like honestly, utilize anything that any of these companies are offering, because it will just set you a bit further away from the competition. And it is a competition.
Yeah, totally. I think there are still great retail management schemes out there. I think it's either Aldi or Lidl is one of the leading.
That was really coveted. I remember when graduating.
Trainee programs, and they guarantee like a big salary, don't they?
Yeah.
A store management role, which is like 80 grand probably, a store manager, 80, 90 grand.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
when, I'm interested to know, obviously you were there at Harrods whilst Mohammed Al Fayed still owned it. And the store, I think, was incredible.
Yeah.
And then the Qatari backed, I don't know.
Investment Authority.
Purchased it. Mm-hmm. There's a gulf now between the experience in store. How do you think it's changed? And do you think it's changed for the better or the worse?
It's hard, because there has to be change. There has to be evolution, of course. I just think it's lost a little bit of its soul. That's how it feels. It feels a bit like, I know you've mentioned before, like Zara's, that you can find the little money, but they're everywhere. Whereas I feel like Harrods' USP was that there was only one Harrods.
And it was Harrods.
And it was. But I feel like...
It was unashamedly Harrods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they didn't mind giving up retail space and having a pet kingdom. It wasn't the most money-making area of the business.
But it made it an exciting, magical store.
Exactly. It made it, it's a destination. Like, you could go as a family and, like, take
I think that's the thing. They understood the theatre. Even the old, do you remember the Krispy Kreme concession that had the giant conveyor belts in the food hall? That was amazing. Like, Krispy Kreme had just launched.
In the UK, I remember.
It was like something out of Willy Wonka, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like mind-blowing to a kid. So cool.
But those spaces have gone. Like, I think that where that was in the food halls, that's now jewellery.
Yeah, the food hall's not what it was, is it?
No.
And do you feel, I certainly feel when I go in there now, that the super brands are ruling the roost, that they're calling the shots?
Chanel, Louis Vuitton, they're the ones who, definitely have a lot of sway on what happens, and they get given a lot of space. But that's because commercially it makes sense. And I get that from a commercial perspective, but at the same time, when I say it's lost its soul. Like, that's what I mean by that.
A sad day for retail, I think.
Yeah.
Not day, the last 10 years, just to see the collapse of these iconic stores. I'm not saying Harrods has collapsed, it hasn't, but I think that vision of what a department store should look like, those days are gone.
I don't know. Maybe they'll come back. But retail as a whole has just massively shifted anyway, with with online shopping becoming such a major thing. And actually, where I used to love shopping and going out and spending a day in a department store, I can't think of anything worse now.
I know.
It just feels like it's a tourist excursion. It feels too busy. It feels too pressured, and it's not I don't always find it to be a pleasant experience anymore. And maybe that's just because I'm a tired mum. I don't have a lot of time.
No, I have that too. I mean, I've only been to these places a handful of times, and thankfully so.
They're exhausting, aren't they?
You leave and you think you need a nap.
Yeah, it's like coming out of an interview. You need a lie down.
Yeah, in a dark room.
Yeah, and a stiff drink. Cool.
That always helps.
That's it. Thank you.